Clairo's third album, Charm, has taken social media by storm. While you can say it's kind of still on the underrated side, those who appreciate the 70s inspired soul, alternative, and funk-filled album are loud about it. And I'm proud to say that I am one of those people. See, peep the poster that's framed on my wall. I fell so deeply in love with this album that I started to wonder about the backstory. Like, what are the inspirations? What songs got her into this mood? Where did the idea for this album come from? And I just had to learn for myself and find out. As her only self-released album, Charm came out in July of 2024 and was recorded in New York. She has more of a confidence this time around, very soulful and vintage sounding. That's kind of a tongue twister, actually. Vintage sounding. I felt like it was very cohesive with the indie pop, almost indie take on love and relationships. In 2019, Immunity dropped. Clairo was praised for, quote, its maturity and poise. Clairo wrote and produced each of the tracks on the album. Her second album, Sling, was produced by Jack Antonoff, who is a huge name in pop music. But Clairo's second album, Sling, also received a lot of praise as Clairo delved into the world of the music industry and what it means to take music and the attention that comes from that seriously, as well as everything that she experienced in terms of fame. So both albums, while they are different from Charm, I do recommend giving them a listen. Very mature at the time, and I do agree with everyone who's been saying that, even though I'm pretty late to the game. But I'm obsessed with Flaming Hot Cheetos, okay? That sounded amazing during the Coachella set, so I was happy. A press release for the album, Charm, stated that Charm is a collection of warm 70s-inspired grooves that moves between jazz, psychedelic folk, and soul, and extroverted bounce back from her beloved 2021 album, Sling. So Charm was produced by Leon Michaels. He's a big part of Crown Records. I had no idea he co-founded the Arcs. I do like a few of their songs. And it wasn't necessarily pre-planned to make music with him. She said it kind of just happened. Magic happens when it's like that. The album is performance-based, where everything was recorded live and in analog, and it still kept a common thread between her previous albums. And Clairo also stated that the songs did turn out similar to the demos. She said the things that she made in high school was still a big inspiration for her, and that everyone really does have a different relationship with their old work, which I can relate to. She says in the Rolling Stone article that she couldn't have made Charm without Sling and Immunity, as both needed to come together to birth Charm. She revisited her SoundCloud a lot and things that she made in high school, while she was still trying to figure out that common thread between her former works and Charm. Speaking on maturity, Clairo does feel that Charm is kind of her first grown-up album in comparison to the first two in all aspects, and I can agree. The vocal delivery, the production, the writing, but Clairo made a good point of stating, there's a world in which this was my first grown-up record, but I can assure you that in a few years, I'll be saying the same thing, that now I'm ready. Which I think can speak to the way a lot of artists put out something and in the moment they're like, this is it, this is where I am, this is totally me right now. And then years later, they say the same thing about a project that they're now releasing. And I think that just opens the door to so much growth to happen. It's like everything that was released prior was meant to happen to get to this present moment. She also said in an interview with The Guardian, I really wanted Immunity to mean something, but I also didn't really know exactly what I was going for. I love that record because of that semi-nervous energy. You can kind of tell that I'm 21 in the best way. Charm is kind of the dust settling, picking up the pieces, feeling a little more grown and refined. I look at Charm as a culmination of a lot of experiences and having to find yourself in the public eye. It takes time to find your sound and yourself. The word charm was chosen as the album's centerpiece because of the moment of feeling charmed by someone and vice versa, having no idea who this person is or what they're into. And it's that feeling that's there, that intrigue, that mystery, the slight infatuation that can be there. So that was kind of the meaning of the record, right? Being charmed. And she said it's that gray area that happens between two people really know each other, kind of like a crush. It was captured so well in the album, oh my God. And I just wanted to share this quote from, I believe, the Rolling Stone interview because I really resonated with this. She said, I've since learned that I love to exist in gray areas and to not be pinned down by anything. My femininity, my personality, and my interests are all so fluid. Sometimes it's hard for me to keep track of all of the things that I love and all the things I want to do. I used to struggle with the idea of what kind of girl I was and what kind of parameters I needed to exist within to be accepted. I'm much happier now that I understand that it's never going to be defined. Completely agree. Clairo stated this was the first time during a project that she worked with a group of people, as she's usually used to working with one other person. It was kind of a learning experience for her, as she was just used to knowing her own works thoroughly since she was there step by step for the process. But she also stated that it was a freeing process since she got the opportunity to listen to everything from the perspective of a listener, and that it was good to let go. And I love that. I literally have let go on my wrist. So inspirations for the album included jazz singer pianist Blossom Dearie, songwriter Margot Gurrion, the Beach Boys, The Innovations, and Harry Nilsson. Clairo mentioned that Smiley Smile by the Beach Boys and The Point by Harry Nilsson, when it comes to focusing on mystery and allure, was a big piece of inspiration for her. Literally a few hours before I started filming for this video, I found a Spotify playlist where Clairo added songs that inspired this entire album, so please check that out. I have it linked in my description. It's really, really good. As far as the mixing and mastering goes for the album, I was lucky enough to stumble upon like a really cool Reddit thread from the album's engineer. His name is Jens Junkerth, and while people, I think, kind of pissed him off in the thread, he left some really good gems in there. So I left that in my description too, and I definitely recommend reading it, especially if you're into engineering and the technical side of music, because it's really good stuff in that thread. But Jens did say that the album was very dry, meaning that there wasn't any reverb or delay added into the vocals, and that Clairo decided that doubling and tape would be the perfect fit for the album to kind of fit that more vintage sound. He said that he had to, quote, mix the band in such a way that it tricks the ear into thinking there's more space around the voice, and most of the room ambience in terms of the band, just to get that sound just right where they needed it to be. Here's another good quote from that thread that I really wanted to pinpoint. Ultimately, how you make a record which sounds like Charm is you spend a lifetime listening to old records, contemplating these types of songs, listening to old records containing these types of sounds, and assimilate that. Develop your ear around it and share your sessions with musicians, producers, and engineers who understand this frame of reference just as well as you do. Prepare to not even think about what anyone else is doing in the studio, but while simultaneously acknowledging that it's present day, we're not trying to fool anyone with counterfeit retro, and we need to embrace anything goes software tools in order to craft something that will hold up in a streaming playlist of contemporary stuff. Very good tidbit if you are also somebody out there who's making your own music. I think that's really good. Now for the individual tracks on the album. You know, for my background, I really should have tinkered with the settings for that not to keep falling asleep on me. Nomad is the first track on the album, and it feels like a sunrise. It's softly bringing us into the world of Charm while the gentle percussion and folk-like acoustic guitar is going off in the background. It's very dreamy, lush, and longing romantically, and that's perfectly captured with the analog recording. The first track uses the keys E-flat mixolydian and E-flat major. Nomad is, quote, the bridge between sling and charm. Clairo was heavily into the Bee Gees while making this record, so the song started out with the intentions of being happier, but as she played it more and more on tour, she started to realize kind of how sad the song is. Sexy to Someone was released as the album's first single, and this is where she really started to discover the whole vibe for the album. And she stated that this was a turning point in Charm. Clairo also stated in the Rolling Stone interview that out of context, this song can kind of be like a what even is this? But it really makes a lot of sense within the context of the album. It's asking for outside validation. It's the feeling of receiving a compliment without asking for it, but instead you're kind of venting about wanting that sort of attention. The song, she said, kind of came out of a place of insecurity, and the song was written after she'd been alone in the woods for a little while, and it's about exploring sexy and sensuality, femininity. I love the lyrics that are paired with the instrumental, just because the chorus sounds so upbeat and colorful. It's almost like a reflection of what it feels like to receive a compliment just out of the blue that you didn't really ask for. It's like receiving that recognition in what receiving that in a compliment would feel like, if that makes any sense. She said she's worked on her confidence and her self-love, but there were still moments where she wished someone would take interest, even if it was just for a second. She also stated that this type of song is a reminder that we're human, but also you don't need to change yourself to be loved. Second Nature is very important in terms of the mood for the album. It's a song that lives within its own world, that's bouncy with the tempo changes. And she said she loved the feeling of natural relationships where you don't have to second guess anything. Things just happen the way that it is. And this one is inspired by Little Pad by the Beach Boys. Second Nature has D major and B major chords with the piano as the song's centerpiece. Very cool. Slow Dance is one of Clairo's favorites. She said, quote, "I basically made a PSA in the studio being like, please make some feminine music. Have a little femme in your step." And this is another important piece of the album. Clairo mentioned that Charm is a lot about dating in your 20s and navigating that. There's the delicacy of exploring dating that's captured super well within this song specifically, as it is quieter and more intimate and feels hopeful of a romance that's brewing. They brought in a lot of people for the making of this song in particular. Clairo said they were working on stuff and getting through it, but we really needed a couple songs to feel like, oh shit, that was worth it. And Second Nature and Slow Dance were those moments. The song was worked on during the second day of recording the entire album, and the vocals were re-recorded 5 times, but they kept going back to the first set. Thank You mostly uses A flat major and E flat major chords. Thank You had the same chords as the chorus and the verses for a little while until someone suggested that they change them. This might be my second favorite in terms of the lyrics, just because that whole thing about the minute I sat down and we started talking, I knew that this relationship would not work. Like, I knew this would be a flop. The name Terrapin comes from the name of a bar, I believe in New York. Leon Michaels worked on the instrumental for Terrapin and Juna. Talent. The talent. Clairo stated in an interview that it was a bit of a challenge to write to something that was already made, and the beat sounded like something that would be rapped over, which it kind of does. And this type of stuff, like when it's sampled, sounds so good. I saw someone sample one song that I can't remember. It might have been Juna recently on TikTok, and it was so good. So good. The video was directed by Ayo Edebiri from The Bear, who I freaking love. I love Ayo. Terrapin is like so full of warmth. It's probably my favorite instrumental behind Juna. And the song as a whole just feels lush and classy. Juna, the favorite, the amazing Juna. This is where Clairo finds herself being super entranced by the chemistry within the relationship. Say hello to my dog if you can see her tail. Clairo said that this is probably her favorite song aside from Second Nature. The song was made without thinking that it would totally blow up. It's funny that the performance for Jimmy Fallon was actually supposed to be Sexy to Someone, and they changed it 2 days before. Crazy. That was a good move though. I love Sexy to Someone, but that was a good move. This one feels the most soulful in terms of the mood within the album, and it was written in the key of D major. Amazing song, still to this day. Add Up My Love was self-made in Brooklyn with similar chords to Sexy to Someone, which I did notice on my first listen. Clairo struggled with the sounds and how to make it sound weird enough. So she had the hardest time with this one because it sounds very pop. Lots of playing around with the different chord progressions really did help Clairo write the lyrics. That pondering of, am I good enough within a relationship? And the need for appreciation is addressed here, and it's so well done. The chorus feels like a confrontation in a way with how the band just swells and kind of explodes. Echo was written in the key of G major, and it was inspired by the band Broadcast with lead vocalist and founder Trish Keenan. I definitely need to check them out. If they inspired this song, they're a band that I need to look into. It was mentioned that this record was a lot about showcasing Clairo's taste more and giving us a taste of what she's into in terms of music. Similar to what I said in my initial review for this album, it's very Halloween, very spooky, kind of 60s vibe to it. So into the song. I love it. It's always stuck in my head. Clairo said that she noticed everyone was talking about Glory of the Snow a little bit less, and I'm sorry. I love the song. She listed Slow Dance, Glory of the Snow, and Terrapin as the least mention. But Glory of the Snow was made the second day Leon and Clairo worked together, and the song was rewritten a lot until it was finally settled upon for the lyrics. Glory of the Snow is actually a plant that she saw in Brooklyn at the Botanic Garden, and once she did a little bit more research into the plant, she saw a lot of beauty in it. She said it's one of the first plants that sprouts in the beginning of the spring, so it can be seen in the snow as it's sprouting. What a cool name. Just what a cool name for a plant. So beautiful. She stated that the song is about shifting your perspective after something's happened and doing the work to make that shift happen while uplifting yourself. So not being down after a certain event happens, but picking yourself up and continuing on. The song is inspired by Seabird by the Alessi brothers, and it was made in the wintertime. I just feel like it still reminds me of Peanuts with Snoopy and everything. It's the cutest song to me, and very bouncy too. Pier 4 to this day is still my favorite in terms of the lyrics. Clairo stated that the song was recorded in the same way as Just for Today from Sling, by using the Elliott Smith of recording, meaning that the vocals and guitars are double tracked to pan to one side, left or right, to create a seamless blend of tracks to kind of broaden the sound, which is very cool. I didn't know much about this type of recording method until I did research for this album. This is why I'm doing videos like this now, because this is so cool to learn. Clairo listened to a lot of Ted Lucas and was very into how odd the harmonies were. She said he sounds like he's really sure of himself. Clairo also said that Nomad, which was the first track on the album, is a song full of longing and yearning. But Pier 4 is the other side of that, after you figure out that the relationship just won't work. It feels like the end of the story, since listening to the album gives you the entire experience of dating someone. So we all know how the story ends. The slower tempo of the track and the dialed back instrumental really gives a spotlight to the story's end. Clairo said that making Charm was a lot of fun, but slightly sadder, and moodier songs like Pier 4 and Nomad are still prominent pieces that I personally feel like she was able to seamlessly blend into this more colorful world of the other tracks within the album, and in comparison to her previous albums too. But within those deeper moments, it is important to note that just because dates or relationship doesn't turn out well, does not mean that you're unlovable, or that it will never happen for you, or that you have to ever lose yourself. There's another really good, relatable quote in the Guardian interview where she says, "What I've struggled with the most was thinking no one deserves to have my stories or know me if they're just gonna leave, and vice versa. But it's also like, well, if I don't have these external exchanges, like, what am I doing with my life? That's the point." Hit. Understood. Understand all too well. That specific article is really good though, because she mentions Palestine and Sudan. I definitely recommend giving that one a read. She said, quotes from her interview with the Rolling Stone, "Maybe some of the lyrics on Charm are less meaningful or kind of silly, but it's really weird how sometimes people can listen to lyrics and think that's the highest of that artist's intellect. When we reference albums like Smiley Smile or Beach Boys' Love You, and more silly things that come from people that we consider to be great songwriters, we never see that as their highest intellect. It's an intentional choice, so I want it to be felt and heard as an intentional choice." In terms of what may come next, she said, "I think it will expand a little bit, but I do think I figured something out with this record. With this record, in terms of personal style and maybe my own voice. Please, if we are on this track with Charm, please keep going in this direction, because we're here for it. We are completely here for it. Album's amazing. Let me know, what are your thoughts on this album still? We're coming up on a year of its release, which is absolutely crazy, but I'm obsessed. Like I said in my review video, I found this album from Eric the Young God, his YouTube channel, and how he reviewed the album. It took me by surprise, just the way that he was talking about the songs and the way that they were being sung and the feeling behind it. I had to give it a listen, and I still, to this day, am obsessed with this album deeply. But tell me what you think. What are your favorite songs? What are your favorite lyrics even? Do we see Clairo releasing anything anytime soon? I'm gonna say no, because it might take her a minute to prepare. So I don't know if we're gonna see anything super soon from her, but I would love it. I'm coming. I'm almost finished, I promise. You do this because I'm recording right now and I'm almost done. I have have a few other video ideas just like this one. I like doing some digging and doing some research and figuring out how some of these cool albums are made. So make sure you subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye. I have to go take my dog out because she's yelling at me. Bye.